What's up everybody, Brian Tong here, and this is the review for Samsung's Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. And it's really a unique time for Samsung's Note line because this is a product that has always had a die-hard loyal group of users, and it's still the most feature-packed phone on planet Earth. That has always been its calling card, but I think that it might not have maybe the same exact appeal it once did, with a lot of those same eyes that are fixed on this now looking at the upcoming Z Fold 2 and the next evolution of really what Samsung is doing with mobile devices. I think the whole tech world is looking at that. Now, the Note 20 Ultra, it is the best the Note has ever been, and it should be. And Note users still looking to upgrade are going to still love it. So I say let's just get the specs out of the way for the Ultra, because you really know what to expect with the Note line, and then we're gonna dive into some of the new features. Now, the design, this is just straight classy with its rounded metal frame, edges, and then that kind of frosted textured glass back, which I love. The color, kind of the flagship color, Mystic Bronze. This is a looker. It's just, again, so classy, and it's not rose gold, but it's a more modern color that we really haven't seen on phones, and it's an attention grabber. Now, I have no qualms about the design here, and yes, there is a big bulging camera lens rectangle. It's huge, and the Note 20 Ultra rocks on a flat surface because of it, right? It kind of tilts, but what phone doesn't with these bulges, especially if you're not using a case? But with the power and features packed in here, it just doesn't bother me at all. And I said the same for the iPhone 11 Pro, and you know what? I'll say the same for the Note 20 Ultra. Now, it brings 6.9 inches of AMOLED goodness at 3088 by 1440 resolution and 496 pixel per inch DPI with HDR10 plus support and a peak brightness of 1500 nits, which is ridiculous for a mobile display. Its Infinity O display just wraps to the edges. It has a 120 hertz display with a variable refresh rate. And so what this allows it to do is to adjust depending on what you do. So there's 120 for gaming, 60 for video, 30 for email, and it can go as low as 10 hertz if you're looking at stills or social media without any flickering. And that's thanks to a new backplane technology that Samsung developed for this display. Now, Samsung says this helps to use 22% less battery. The screen is vibrant, it is sharp, and it is just big, because using this over the past week, this has to be the best display on a phone that I have ever used. It's crisp, it's punchy and bright, and come on, you gotta love that refresh rate because that is smooth as butter. And I know I don't have all the calibration tools to do those finite measurements, but to me, this is the best display I've seen on a phone. It's packed with a 4,500 milliampere hour battery, and even though it's hard to say what my true typical use is, since we're mostly staying at home these days, I've been able to get through a normal day easy, but part of that could be because I'm on my computer a lot more too. But I know that my behaviors are different than yours and what they were even before this, but ultimately battery life was not an issue for me at all. I was about literally 40 to 50% by 9 p.m. at night for the few days that I really locked in and just used it as I normally would as my only phone. So that's pretty impressive for me. Now, it runs a Snapdragon 865 Plus here in the US. That gives you a little extra GPU performance, 12 gigs of RAM, 128 or 512 gigs of storage as options in the US, and a micro SD card slot that adds up to 1 terabyte. Also, it brings 5G, Wi-Fi 6, and Bluetooth 5.0 plus ultra wideband here to instantly share files with nearby Samsung devices that also have ultra wideband. Think of it like AirDrop for Samsung finally, but the only Samsung devices to support it right now are other Note 20 Ultras. So it's there. You probably won't be using it that much for another year when really the next Samsung phone lineup will likely support it, but it will also support Google's nearby share feature for supported Android phones. There's also USB-C, obviously. You get fast wireless charging 2.0. That gets you 50% juice in just 30 minutes, and then wireless power share. This phone, though, using it does run warmer. You'll feel the heat, obviously, especially when you're taking photos and videos, and it runs warmer for a longer period of time for me. It's not a knock on it, but I think it's just something to be aware of. And if you live in a cold area, there is nothing wrong with a Note 20 Ultra as a pocket warmer. Like, that should actually be one of its features to really increase their market share if they want to target Eskimos. Now, we talked about the big camera patch that houses 3 cameras. You've got a 12 megapixel ultra wide, 108 megapixel wide angle, 12 megapixel telephoto lens with a laser autofocus, and then a 10 megapixel front facing camera, a 5 times optical zoom, which is as good as it gets right now, and a 50 hybrid time zoom, which is more than necessary because do you really need to see that bird on a telephone wire? I think it was smart, though, to step back from the fun of marketing this less practical 100 times space zoom from the S20 Ultra. 50 times is more than good enough. And the photos on here, they look very good. They still always feel a little extra boosted with saturation to me. And it does look like though Samsung has tamed that down some, not completely, but some. You can manually set a photo to use the 108 megapixel sensor that you can turn on for high resolution photos, but leaving it on its default 12 megapixel sensor, the picture gets more contrast and I think it reveals better shadows and highlights. It's subtle, but you can see the differences between the 108 megapixel shot versus the 12 megapixel shot. I also have some pictures using portrait mode, and you've got to really compare them to the iPhone 11 Pro, right? These are kind of the two most popular phone cameras that people have. And there are really times where the iPhone excels, and then there's also times where the Note 20 Ultra excels. I did feel like at times the Note 20 Ultra boosts the exposure for portrait pics, where the iPhone 11 Pro is a lot tougher to find that sweet spot for the effect to happen. You have to pull your phone away wider if it's not a person, but still keeps it pretty natural looking. Now, one place the iPhone has always kind of had trouble in portrait mode is with straws in drinks. But how many of you are actually taking pictures of straws in drinks? In night mode, I'm gonna give the edge to the iPhone 11 Pro over the Note 20 Ultra just because it boosts up the brightness a little and you also get a little more detail in there. So you'll absolutely be happy with this camera here. There are times where it excels and other times where the boosted saturation is still a little too much for me compared to some of the more natural looking pics from the iPhone 11 Pro. But at this level, you know, there's positives, there are negatives, but you're still getting a really great camera. Now, for the camera's new Pro features, you can, while you're recording video, pick the actual audio source for the video, including Bluetooth connected earbuds with mics. They're showing off the buds live, so that's kind of the go-to, but you can do that. Or you can also, this is kind of fun, zooming. I always hated like manually zooming and it always being like kind of shaky and inconsistent. You can actually hold the zoom on place in Pro mode for this steady, consistent zoom, which is actually real nice and underrated feature. So you can do things like this really dramatic salad. The S Pen brings new tricks with Jedi-like air gestures to navigate the phone. I'm gonna let the Note regulars chime in here because it is useful, but it kind of feels a little gimmicky to me, but maybe the Note diehards all love it. For me, two things that stand out that I actually used, obviously a lot more responsive S Pen thanks to the 120 hertz refresh rate, and then the ability to take notes, straighten out my horrible handwriting, and then convert it easily into readable text. Good job. Plus, using the audio to record yourself talking while writing and playback of it that is timed with when you're writing your notes and when you're talking about things, I thought that was really clever and cool for sharing. So when you tap on a word or note you make, it jumps to that part of the audio recording. Plus, Samsung Notes finally syncs across devices, instantly making it more useful for people in the Galaxy ecosystem, and they're just adding a lot of more important hooks to build a stronger ecosystem. Now, I do enjoy using the S Pen. I'd be the first to tell you though, I'm not a stylus user daily. Every time I've had a note, I think it's great, but it's just not something that is, you know, that I need. But the functionality is really just unmatched compared to anything else that's out there. Now, to me though, the most intriguing part about the Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra though, has to be their evolving partnership with Microsoft. Not only does it have that amazing display that we talked about, but look, on September 15th, the floodgates are gonna really open with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate that instantly unlocks the ability to play 100 plus Xbox One console games on this device. You know, you have Gears of War 5, there's Forza Motorsport, you have Ori, that's like a classic. You also can still play Fortnite games on here side-loaded, and you can connect a Bluetooth controller as well. With this screen, you know, at this size, the Note 20 Ultra, this is just setting itself up for a future. It's just one of the best phones for mobile gaming. And Apple's closed that door on cloud gaming services other than their own Apple Arcade, and we know about its beef with Fortnite. Like, that doesn't look like it's gonna get resolved anytime soon. So you think about it, on their side, no Xbox Game Pass, no Google Stadia on iOS. You can still at least sideload Fortnite on an Android device. However long this whole tiff with Google Play Store lasts, they've shut them out for now, but on Apple, you can do none of those things. So if gaming is a priority to you, with 5G connectivity getting better and game streaming services getting better, I think the Note 20 Ultra is arguably the best mobile phone for gaming right now. And think about this, when Xbox Game Pass Ultimate drops, it gets even better. Now, if syncing your notes between Samsung devices wasn't enough, you also have the Note 20 Ultra's deeper integration with Windows 10 to now sync your Samsung Notes, and reminders to Microsoft's Outlook. That's coming later this year. Plus, the ability to run multiple Android apps as standalone apps on your Windows machine. That's crazy, and that will be arriving in late 2020 as well. Now, I don't know how many people are gonna use that, but I think it's gonna come in handy in ways that you don't expect. So if you're a Windows user, the Note 20 Ultra just has to be at the top of your list with this deep integration that we haven't seen on phones before, and you can just see how this partnership is getting started. Now, there's so much the Note series brings to the table. It always has, but the new features that stand out the most to me, that have the most long-lasting implications, obviously ultra wideband for wireless file sharing. Yes, it's only on the Note 20 Ultra to Note 20 Ultra right now, but I've always wanted this AirDrop equivalent if I was seriously ever gonna jump over. We're also seeing the Note evolve to become more than it ever has been with this upcoming Xbox Game Pass Ultimate service and the Windows 10 integration. If you're a Note user, you're gonna love this device. I mean, everything about the Note 20 Ultra is premium, and yeah, that screen is dang impressive. The prices too, starting at $1,299 for the 128 gig Note 20 Ultra, and then $1,449 for the 512 gig model here in the US. But for people that have wanted more and have been flirting with the idea of the Note 20 Ultra, it's a little bit of a different time where, again, a lot of eyes in the tech world are still waiting to see what the Z Fold 2 does before making that final decision. The reality is that the price point for that is gonna be even higher than the Note 20 Ultra, so maybe your budget will automatically kind of knock you out of that. But also there's a whole lot of people that do not want a foldable device at all. But the Note 20 Ultra, a really polished feature-packed device, and really the best Samsung has to offer for an Android phone that all you Note users should absolutely be excited about.